Hi friends, my name's Rainey and today we are going to talk about my Nonfiction November TBR. I will admit that I am not a big nonfiction reader, but whenever this readathon comes along every year, I get really excited about nonfiction. So, if you aren't aware, which I would be surprised if you're not, Nonfiction November is hosted by Olive over at A Book Olive, and she comes up with 4 prompts every year that are just like one word prompts that you can interpret however you want, which I love. So, without further ado, let's just get into what I picked, shall we? So, Olive's first prompt is design. And she said, obviously you can interpret this however you want. And the book that I chose for this is actually the one that I am most excited about, but also most scared of. And that book is Beatrix Potter, A Life in Nature by Linda Lear. And the only reason that I'm nervous about this book is just because of its size. It's quite a chunker. But the reason I chose this one for design is because Beatrix Potter was not only an author of children's books, but she also is an artist. She did the art for all of those books. She was a scientist. She was a sheep farmer. Just all kinds of things that I knew nothing about. And she also lived in the Victorian era. I am not quite ready to give up the Victorian vibe yet. So reading about Beatrix Potter seems like a great segue from Victober into Nonfiction November. So I'm really interested to read about her because she just seems like she had such an interesting life, and I've been hearing a lot about this book and Beatrix Potter in general on BookTube in recent months, and it's just really piqued my interest. So I'm excited. Now, the next prompt is sport, and I might be stretching this just a little bit, but I am not a big sports person, so I didn't want to read about anybody that was involved in football, basketball, baseball, anything like that. I don't really care. So I picked this book up at a library book sale back in March, and I specifically bought it with Nonfiction November in mind. And that is My Life in France by Julia Child. And this is a memoir about Miss Julia Child, who is a legend in the cooking world. And I think that if you have ever watched Julia's TV series, I believe it's called The Joy of Cooking. Why I blanked on the name of it right now is beyond me. But if you've ever watched that program, she attacks cooking as if it were a sport. And Julia just had a zest for life, a zest for learning, and she was just not afraid to just go for things, even if she knew nothing about it when she first started. She just knew she was going to be able to learn, and she was going to be great about it. I mean, who else is like that? I am concerned all the time about failure. And honestly, Julia probably was too, but her just confidence and, even in her program, if something went wrong in her cooking, she was like, oh, well, we'll just chuck this in the bin. So it was great. I really enjoyed the movie that came out in the early 2000s, Julie and Julia, and that's what really got me interested in Julia Child. So I'm really excited to read this memoir about her. Now, the next prompt is true. And I had a little bit of a think about this because I thought, well, we're in Nonfiction November. It should all be true, right? That's the definition of nonfiction. But I decided to go with a book that should be more like just interesting facts about something. And for that, because I am also not ready to get out of the Victorian era, I went for How to How to Be a Victorian by Ruth Goodman. And I just think that this is going to be really interesting. It's probably at times going to be rather repulsive. And it's probably going to give me a lot of feels and make me think, why do I like the Victorian era so much? But I'm hoping that I will really enjoy this and that it will be amusing, if nothing else, and make me go, oh gosh, oh no, I'm glad I live in the modern era. But it is also kind of a chunky book, so I'm a little bit concerned about that. Let's see what the type is. Well, it's not too bad. So, yeah, I think it'll be all right. So, we'll see. I think I'm going to be, for all of these books, tabbing out pages and dividing them by 30 and just try to work through all of these books throughout the month, because this is a lot of pages. But I'm really excited to read this book as well. I forget where I first heard about this book, but I think that it was probably either on Katie from Books and Things or Ange's channel from Beyond the Pages. They are two of the Victober hosts, and I feel like last year one of them, if not both of them, read this book for Victober. So, but anyway, it's been on my TBR for a long time, so my library had it, so I picked it up. And the last prompt is voice. And for this one, I was fortunate enough to see Kate Howe and Megan Hannett put up a announcement video about a Louisa May Alcott read-along for all of next year. And because they are lovely ladies and want to help us all out with readathons, their first pick that they're going to start in November is a biography on Louisa May Alcott and her father, Branson Alcott. And it's called Eden's Outcast by John Madison. And I picked this for voice. I mean, I was going to read it anyway, but I wanted to put it in with one of the prompts. But I think it will work for voice because Branson Alcott apparently had some very interesting ideas about how he thought the world should work. And basically, I think Kate said that he just did not work because he just thought that the government should take care of him. And and Louisa was not necessarily on board with that theory. So she wanted fortune and fame. So she bucked against her father, which in that era was probably very shocking. So I feel like this would work well for voice because not only was Branson Alcott's theories and his voice interesting, Louisa kind of lent her own voice to getting herself out of a weird situation that she did not agree with. And I'm really excited to read this book and to participate in the whole read-along for the Louisa May Alcott books, because I will admit that the only book that I even knew that she wrote, actually two books, was Little Women and Little Men. I had no idea that there were so many Louisa May Alcott books. So I feel really bad about that. So I am excited that there is a read-along that is going to correct this error in my reading judgment. So that is the last book that I have for Nonfiction November. But I also have one other book that I need to read that is a fiction book, and that is going to be the last of the books in the Betsy-Tacy read-along for 2019, and that is going to be Winona's Pony Cart by Maud Hart Lovelace. And I'm really excited to read this one, and also very sad that this read-along will be over. But I am looking forward to starting the whole series over again, because quite frankly, I feel like I will be doing that. Maybe not every year, but at least every couple of years, I think I would be doing this. So I really have enjoyed this series, and coming up on the last book, I really thought that I wouldn't like the books that are not focused on Betsy Ray as much as I did those ones, but I have really enjoyed the other three that don't pertain to Betsy really at all. So I have really enjoyed that read along, and I am excited to finally get to the last one and be able to think about my whole experience with this series. For the rest of the month of November, I am going to be either mood reading or, let's be honest, probably just reading these 5 books, because that's a lot of pages for me to read in a month. Because also, I will be participating in NaNoWriMo, National Novel Writing Month. I'm going to try to write a 50,000 word cozy mystery novel in the month of November and read 5 very lengthy nonfiction books. What could go wrong? I mean, I have all the time in the world, right? I don't know what is possessing me to do all this stuff. I thought after Victober I would just be like, we'll just cruise on with the end of the year. We'll just mood read. It'll be fine. And then it just all went to pot. So, but I hope you will join me for my NaNoWriMo adventures. I will be posting my progress in my weekly vlogs in November. That is my plan anyway. And also, I will be posting my thoughts on all the nonfiction that I've been reading. And I will have my Betsy-Tacy read-along video in November, and probably a wrap-up of the whole series. So I have a lot going on in November, apparently. But yes, I hope you will join me, and I would like to know in the comments what you plan to read for Nonfiction November, if you have been joining us for the Betsy-Tacy read-along, and what you think of the non-Betsy related books in the series. Oh, and also, if you're participating in NaNoWriMo, and what kind of thing you plan to read or to write for that. So, lots of things. So, yes, I am now going to go read some more Victorian literature and drink my wine. So, I'll talk to you later, friends. Bye.